Hey folks, Jordan Sheridan with Jordan Sheridan. Happy Friday. It is March 16th, 2018, 4 o'clock on the East Coast. Very sunny day here in New York. I have been diligently working behind the scenes with my business partner to do a lot of necessary things to get the ball rolling on everything from streaming to multiple platforms at once to creating a very vibrant website that we hopefully will be releasing in full force soon, as well as getting everything ready for a possible media company that we hope to launch this summer. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the news. You got CNN, MSNBC hysterical over quite a lot of things that I don't necessarily think need to be hysterical about. Let me make sure the stream is working before I keep going. La-da-dee, la-da-da, what will be, will be. Da-da-dee-doo. All right, it is working. So, a lot going on. You have apparently this morning Trump's the lawyer for Stormy Daniels suggested she was threatened. Then you have, without much proof, you have suggestions that Russia poisoned a British spy or something like that. A lot of things that the corporate media are covering. Meanwhile, there is additional water poisoning that was found in Michigan. You have another teacher strike, this time in New Jersey, after the successful West Virginia teacher strike. You have a very out of control, if you ask me, Kentucky governor, which I'm going to get into, who is crapping on the teachers so he could give more tax breaks to wealthy people. But, and possibly John Bolton, who is a danger to humanity, and I think if in the White House could help Trump launch World War III, he's getting possibly replacing H.R. Mcmaster as National Security Advisor. Before I keep going, I want to remind you I have a new reporting Patreon. That is patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. That's patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. I hope you'll go there, check it out. There's a podcast there. There's also a video diary I'm doing every day that you could see some of the behind the scenes going on with me. And there's a lot of other content that we're going to be debuting on the Patreon. It's your way to support me. It's also what we will be using in order to launch the company, hopefully to show investors that not only do we have X amount of dollars in the Patreon, but we have X amount of people in the Patreon. We launched it 2 days ago, and already I believe we have 60 Patreons subscribed. And there's, you could go $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. We have, let's see, $2, $5, $10, $20, $27, and higher with different levels of rewards. So I hope you'll check it out. Hope you'll consider supporting me. You're not just supporting me, but you are supporting the eventual launch of the Media Revolution, which will be a company. I'm also now on Steemit.com. That's STEEMIT.com. I want you to go to Steemit.com, sign up. It takes a little bit to get approved. It might take a couple days, maybe a week to get approved. Hopefully they speed that up. Steemit is good. It's not, unlike Twitter, unlike YouTube, there is no censoring, no censorship. Lee Camp is very active on Steemit. And I just got on Steemit. You could post videos, articles, all these things. You can make money per post based on digital currency and those kinds of things. So definitely check it out. That's Steemit.com. Once you sign up and get approved, you could follow me, Steemit.com/@Jordan Sheridan. So Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports, Steemit.com/@Jordan Sheridan. Now, before I get to the awfulness, Bernie Sanders wrote a pretty interesting piece this morning. It came out. It's on theguardian.com. A lot of the themes that he's always talked about, but a little bit more targeted against the corporate media. So I wanted to read some of it to you, give my thoughts. Headline: the corporate media ignores the rise of oligarchy. The rest of us shouldn't. So Bernie Sanders, obviously on the campaign trail, I covered many of his rallies, spoke quite a lot about oligarchy. Yes, hit the bell to get notifications when I go live. There's some funny stuff going on with YouTube where people aren't getting notifications even though they signed up for it. People who have subscribed are getting unsubscribed. Quite interesting things, which I'm talking to YouTube about behind the scenes. So stay tuned for that. So Bernie writes this piece about corporate media. Now, the rapid rise of oligarchy and wealth and income inequality is the great moral, economic, and political issue of our time. Yet it gets almost no coverage from the corporate media. How often do network newscasts report on the 40 million Americans living in poverty, or that we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth? How often does the media discuss the reality that our society today is more unequal than at any time since the 1920s, with the top 0.1% now owning almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%? How often have you heard the media report the stories of millions of people who today are working longer hours for lower wages than was the case 40 years ago? How often has ABC, CBS, or NBC discussed the role that the Koch brothers and other billionaires play in creating a political system which allows the rich and the powerful to significantly control elections and the legislative process in Congress? Sadly, the answer to these questions is almost never. The corporate media has failed to let the American people fully understand the economic forces shaping their lives and causing many of them to work 2 or 3 jobs, while CEOs make hundreds of times more than they do. Instead, day after day, 24/7, we're inundated with the relentless dramas of the Trump White House, Stormy Daniels, and the latest piece of political gossip. We urgently need to discuss the reality of today's economy and political system and fight to create an economy that works for everyone and not just the 1%. So I'll put the description to this article after I'm done. The rest of it, you've heard it from Bernie before. I thought it was interesting to bring this up because my business partner, Jen, and I have been talking, and this morning I talked to her, and during the day, I have CNN or MSNBC on, and Jen was joking with me, oh, you're secretly establishment. And I said to her, no, there's nothing else. There's no all day progressive network to watch on television. There's really no all day progressive network to watch on the internet. I mean, yeah, you wait for videos from Jimmy or Kyle Kalinske or Lee Comp or Jamarl Thomas or Mike from the Humanist Report and these kinds of things. But there's really no network. There's no cable channel or all day thing that you could go to for actual non-corporate news. I mean, do you know of anything? And it's frustrating because for me, I keep CNN or MSNBC on just in case something actual breaks, I don't know, some kind of attack or, something political that I want to respond to. Also, it gives me good fodder to go after people on Twitter, which I enjoy. But there's really a void. And the reason is, you look at the industries that shouldn't be about profit, but have become about profit over the last 20 to 30 years. You look at healthcare. Should not be about profit. People's health and treatment for things like cancer and those kinds of things should not be up in the air based on whether they could pay for it or not. That's why the majority of other countries have universal health care. Nor should the media be a profit engine. That's why in the past, when, in the 1970s, 80s, right before Bill Clinton, I wouldn't call Vice necessarily progressive anymore, in my opinion. But right before they deregulated the whole media industry, you had, NBC, CBS, ABC, their sports divisions, their entertainment shows is what brought in money. And it was understood that the news department would kind of be like a loss leader. But you wouldn't make a lot of money off of it. In some cases, you'd lose money. However, it was for branding. It was for your brand, so you had credibility. That is not the case anymore. You have multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerates owning the news. And you have essentially public relations professionals masquerading as journalists. I mean, I sent out a tweet the other day about, Wolf Blitzer is on air interviewing folks about Gina Haspel, who is set to replace Mike Pompeo as CIA director. And it's a known fact. She not only was behind a lot of the torture program under the Bush administration, she oversaw it in person, some of this torture. And Wolf Blitzer says, well, let's remember the context. It was right after 9/11, and, she was just following orders. So if Wolf Blitzer was around in the 1940s, would he just say, well, it's the war, and, the Nazis were just following orders? This is the problem. When you have MSNBC Morning Joe in the morning, they're interviewing the lawyer to Donald Stormy Daniels, who's an adult film star who apparently had an affair with the president. And, they're picking at him, and finally he says, yes, she was threatened. Don't know by who. Was it Trump? Was it someone close to him? And then it's on a loop all day. It's become the TMZ-ification of the news. And I respectfully say to Bernie Sanders, who I admire, I make no secret of that, well, if corporate media is the problem, why do you keep going on corporate media, Bernie? I mean, you're on Meet the Press all the time. You're on CNN all the time. I understand trying to reach all audiences, cable news, older audience, you still want to talk to them, but there's other ways of talking to those people. And I think at a certain point, we have to stop legitimizing what's on CNN. We have to stop and that includes me. I spend a lot of time focusing on what's on there because it's fun and it gives me entertainment to go after them. And I do think there is value in pointing out the lies, in pointing out the myths, the deception, the conflicts of interest, the blatant corporatization of our news. But I think it's really, really scary because we also have to look at the selective coverage. And I'll give you an example. So CNN is now talking about that Russia apparently, allegedly released like a nerve agent in America's electrical grid and all this stuff. They're getting it from unnamed officials like they get everything else from. I read about it. I don't see any specifics or evidence of that, but let's just say that's true for a second. Because I wouldn't put it past. I mean, Russia is not like a bastion of freedom. Russia's government has killed dissenters. Russia's government has killed journalists. So, I mean, it's not like it is, out of the realm. But they're so concerned about a nerve agent. They're so concerned about a potential nerve agent for which there's no proof that Russia actually did that. What about the nerve agents that are being released all over the United States in the form of dirty water and poisoned water? Yeah, it's not a nerve agent, but why is the media up in arms about a nerve agent through the electrical grid? But every single day I'm reporting on new water contamination. I got another one to tell you about today. There's not a peep about that in corporate media. Why are they not reporting on the dangers and the health consequences of all these GMOs in the food and Monsanto's shenanigans? So it's very selective what we're seeing from the corporate media. Now it's as the Trump turns. They're fixating on every hour. Who's Trump gonna fire? Oh, we heard this. Oh, he's having dinner with this. I am going to talk about one person who should scare all of us. But they're saying, Russia hacked our electrical grid. Well, the Washington Post reported that Russia hacked the Vermont's electrical grid and then had to come out and say that wasn't true. They didn't retract the story because they're not real journalists. And by the way, they have a $600 million contract with the CIA that they never disclose. And press the share button to get this out to more people. Unfortunately, YouTube, through its algorithm and other ways, are making it very difficult for people to see that I and other independent media are live. They're making it difficult to see when we have published videos. So you're going to have to be diligent. Keep checking back with my channel, other people's channel that you follow. But I thought that story was interesting from Bernie. He was saying a lot of the things that we expect from Bernie, but in the context of, you know, when you look at what the corporate media did with Iraq, that war could not have been launched without the corporate media. It just couldn't. The New York Times, Judith Miller, through egregious, essentially passing off with Dick Cheney, George Tenet, Wolfowitz, all these people basically told them, just passing it off as fact. And it helped lead us to war. And honestly, I'm afraid the same thing's happening now. I also think that, you know, Trump is a terrible president, he's a terrible person, but, you know, in the mad dash to cover the salaciousness of, you know, Stormy Daniels and who Trump's, you know, the chaos inside the Trump administration, they're basically not actually covering what he's doing, what his administration doing, what is Rick Perry, his energy secretary, doing. I could tell you it's not good. What is EPA Chief Scott Pruitt doing? I could tell you it's not good. I mean, it goes down the list, all the terrible things being done. They don't cover it day to day. They only cover the chaos, the sensationalism. So Bernie is on point. And I also think, I'm not saying this is a self-promotional way, but it's going to take more than just me reporting day to day. It's going to take more than Jimmy, all these people. It's going to take you. You have to be diligent. You have to help create the media that you want to see. Now, as I've told you, I will be coming to you from where I live, from my apartment, for the next few weeks as I recover from back surgery. But make no mistake, my intention is to build a media revolution. And what do I mean by a media revolution? That would be myself, reporters that I'm currently discussing to join me in a company, getting out into the country and putting a face to the stories I am reporting to you from my apartment. I'm talking corruption, exposing the corrupt and bringing them down. I'm talking about water poisoning and other forms of environmental genocide. I'm talking about police brutality, which is not getting covered unless it's an awful scene that gets caught on video. I'm talking about progressive uprising in the form of teacher strikes, unions fighting back, the people fighting back. I'm talking about local progressive candidates as low as dog catcher level that get no coverage anywhere. I'm talking about a huge network that focuses on the stories that aren't sexy enough. I'm talking about interviewing parents or single mothers in Walmart parking lots so that they could tell you about having to choose between medicine this week or groceries for their kids. This is you want to talk about Sarah Palin's real America? The actual real America that I know is happening out there because I've seen it the last 2 years out on the road is not being shown to the public. And we need to put an end to that. And I hope you will help me do that. If you don't know, I launched the other day a new way you could support me. That's patreon.com/Jordan Jarrett Reports. You could subscribe as low as $2, $5, $10. I have a new podcast that I'm going to be doing every week. The first episode is up now. I think you'll really like it. It's the first time I've ever done a podcast, so that's up there for Patreon subscribers. I have a video diary that I'm doing every day. I just shot today's video diary. That is up on the channel. There's other things that for higher levels you're going to get. And it's also, frankly, a put your money where your mouth is kind of moment. We need to see how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Because I'm not going to get funded from the Kochs. I'm not going to get funded from Democratic Party plutocrats. I'm not taking their money, and they wouldn't give me their money. I'm going to get funded from you. That's how I'm going to get back in the field. And now I get to pursue the vision that I've always had with nobody else in my way. I don't have a boss stopping me, which I won't get into further. I don't have anyone. I don't have to answer to anyone but you, which feels great. And I'm getting a little cabin fever. I want to have the funds needed to get out there. I want to have the funds needed to hire the people that need to be hired. There is several people on my list that I want to bring on, but I need you to help me. And it's a tough ask. Make no mistake about it. It's not a small ask. I know a lot of you are living paycheck to paycheck. So right now we're going to be we're sending out the business proposal. We're finishing the logo, which we got submitted today. It looks badass. I'm going to be releasing the name of the company soon, exclusively for those on my email list. So if you're not signed up to my email list, what are you doing? Go to jordanchariton.com right now. Sign up for the email list. We want to build that up. I'll be releasing the name of the company soon. And make no mistake about it, what I'm doing now is more difficult than what I did at TYT. At TYT, at the time, YouTube was not screwing around with his algorithm. So at the very least, at least my content wasn't being suppressed. And I was going on the road with, funds from the Young Turks. Now, YouTube is screwing around with people. They are screwing around with their algorithms so people can't find my content or other content. But we're going to succeed either way. Because this type of reporting, and I have a lot of stories that I'm about to tell you about just for today, is not only wanted, I'm told for many, many people, it's needed. And I don't mean it in a way that, because it's not about me. I'm going to be bringing on other people. It's about getting this kind of news out there that you're not going to get anywhere else. So I hope you will help me, and I hope you will follow what Bernie's saying. Because Bernie, in that piece, which I'll put in the description box, he is saying, we need to go around the corporate media. We need to rise above the corporate media. And we need you to do it. So please consider today or this weekend, check out the Patreon, listen to the podcast, listen to the video, watch the video diaries. There's going to be other new content there, and I hope you consider supporting. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Moving on to something I think is super scary. Reports are that President Trump will be replacing H.R. Mcmaster as his national security advisor. I don't particularly care about that part. Mcmaster, like the rest of them, is kind of a neocon. However, he's a stable neocon. In the grand scheme of people around Trump, you want people that are somewhat stable and not completely willy-nilly, right? So it's been rumored that Trump was going to get rid of Mcmaster for a while. Now, after meeting with former ambassador John Bolton, he was the UN ambassador under President Bush, it is now being reported in several outlets that Trump will be replacing H.R. Mcmaster with John Bolton. I think Shirley just said it best. I don't need to report it. John Bolton is insane. And let me tell you something. A lot of you will not like what I'm about to say, but you know I always keep it real. I think John Bolton is so dangerous that if John Bolton ever had the Republican nomination, I would vote for any Democrat on earth over him, including Hillary Clinton. John Bolton has exemplified not only that he thinks war is the first answer for everything, but he is desperate to launch multiple wars at once. And when you look at a president who is unstable and typically listens to the last person in the room and typically judges people based on their cable news appearances, this should scare everybody. So, I mean, I'll just read you a little bit about John Bolton if you're not familiar. John Bolton. After graduating Yale in 1974, where he had become friends with future Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, so that's not exactly a brainiac, he went into private practice in Washington. He made a name for himself working in conservative politics, becoming vice president of the right-wing American Enterprise Institute, and serving in mid-level roles in Reagan and George H.W. Bush's administration. So right there, he got his legs, his sea legs, under warmonger number A and warmonger number B. Of course, Reagan doubled the debt, actually tripled the debt, if I remember correctly. Military costs surged under Reagan. Trust but verify. We all know his Cold War and a lot of the things we see with the boogeyman, the boogieization of Russia. Reagan started that. We know about the Contras. We know about the START and the space buildup and all this nonsense from Reagan. Then you have George H.W. Bush, the original Iraq War, Desert Storm. That's right, I made up a word, boogieization. So Bolton got his tutelage under these folks. But it wasn't until the George W. Bush administration that Bolton rose to greater prominence. In May 2001, Bush appointed him to be Undersecretary of State for Arms Control, basically the top diplomat focusing on weapons of mass destruction. The position became fairly important in the run-up to the Iraq War, as the Bush administration's case against Saddam Hussein focused on the alleged nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. It's not alleged because they didn't have them. Bolton took the hardest of possible lines. He's forcefully argued that Iraq had WMDs, quote, "We are confident that Saddam Hussein has hidden weapons of mass destruction," as he put in one 2002 speech. After Bush's 2002 State of the Union speech connecting North Korea, Iraq, and Iran as the axis of evil, Bolton insisted this wasn't just rhetoric, that there was a hard connection between these regimes, an axis along which flow dangerous weapons and dangerous technology. So, I'm going to get to more, but we see this repeated. We see this now in the media. Bill Kristol and David Frum are basically rehabilitated. They're all over MSNBC. It doesn't seem to matter how wrong you've been or how many people have died because of the wars you have pushed as a journalist or a politician. It doesn't matter anymore. In this Trump hysteria that we live in, people are being essentially let out of figurative jail for their wrongdoings. And war, and those who died in war, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. The purple screen, back. You know what, folks? I hate to say it. I think I'm being bugged here. I think I'm being bugged. This is the fourth time this has happened. But I'm going to keep going. How about that? You want me to keep going? It's Google, YouTube, or one of that. I guess me trying to report on a warmonger. No good. I'll take this opportunity. Patreon.com/JordanJarrettReports. But I'm going to keep going. I don't give a shit. So, Bolton, let me tell you about, some of his goodies. Oh, so Trump apparently reportedly said, "We need you in here, John. We need you in here, John." If that wasn't scary enough. But, hold on, let me find it. So, he was involved in shaping U.S. intelligence in the run-up to the war, and not in a good way. In 2002, Bolton's staff prepared a speech alleging that Cuba had an active biological weapons program. Cuba. This wasn't true, and the State Department's lead bioweapons analyst at the time would not sign off on his claim. Per the analyst's sworn testimony in Congress, Bolton then called the analyst into his office, screamed at him, and then sent for his boss. In this conversation, per the Washington Post's David Ignatius, who's basically a mouthpiece for the CIA, he derisively referred to the analyst as a munchkin and attempted to get him transferred to a different department. This was cruel and unprofessional, but also dangerous. Carl Ford, then the Assistant Secretary of State for Intelligence and Research, testified that Bolton's assault on the analyst had, quote, a chilling effect through the department, freezing out dissent on proliferation issues beyond Cuba. John Prados, a fellow at George Washington University's National Security Archives, came to an even broader conclusion in a study of declassified Bush administration documents. Bolton bears a significant amount of blame for the politicized intelligence used to justify the decision to attack Iraq. And if you may, feel free to send out a tweet saying, #JordanPurple. And asking YouTube, why does this keep happening? Because I find it interesting that right after I did a video talking about YouTube censoring me and declining all the ads I tried to place, calling them shocking, all of a sudden my channel fell off a cliff, views went down, a lot of my subscribers started telling me they weren't getting notifications even though they were signed up for notifications. They were telling me that they're being unsubscribed even though they didn't unsubscribe. Isn't that interesting? And my screen goes purple several times. Must be a coincidence, huh? So, none of this got Bolton fired. In fact, it got him promoted. In March 2005, President Bush nominated him to be U.S. Ambassador for the UN, one of the most important diplomatic positions in the entire government. Bolton's Senate confirmation hearing turned into a vicious fight, largely over his role in shaping the faulty pre-war intelligence about Iraq. But his management style, as exemplified by the Munchkin incident, also became a huge issue. When Ford was called to testify before the Senate Relations Committee, he bluntly said Bolton's personality should be disqualifying him from holding high office. Ford called him a bully who kisses up and punches down. So this is just some of the scary things when it comes to John Bolton. He also thinks war first, not America first. Well, look at, he also blames every problem on their straight. Quote, I think the worst decision made after the invasion of Iraq was the 2011 decision to withdraw U.S. and coalition forces, Bolton said. So, no, it was good to go in, even though there were no weapons. They had nothing to do with 9/11. The mistake was leaving. To hear Bolton tell it, every foreign policy problem can be solved by hasty, expensive, reckless action. Throw enough money, weapons, and American lives at it, he seems to believe, and you could fix anything. So, here you go. I mean, this guy, from reports, is going to be the next national security advisor. I don't see him suggesting to Trump to be diplomatic or negotiate with Kim Jong-un, which was believed to be what Trump was going to do. I do not see him talking about any type of diplomacy with Russia. I think that it's possible he'll want boots on the ground in Syria. And I think Trump, from what we've seen, has been very deferential to his advisors, especially military. I also think, and we've seen this before, if Trump's poll numbers start going to get to dangerous levels, and it seems like he's not going to get elected, we have seen presidents in the past launch war and double down on war when they are facing issues, when they are facing possibly not being reelected. We have seen that. So this should scare every single person watching on my purple screen. #JordanPurple. Why don't you send a tweet to YouTube? Ask them, why has my channel fallen off a cliff after I did a video basically reporting their ridiculous policy on ads, and why I have a purple screen even though my Wi-Fi is fine. My Wi-Fi is perfectly fine. Looks like the censorship is serious, folks. But thanks for sticking with me, even with a purple screen. I'm going to keep going. How about that? We won't let them win. So, John Bolton, get ready, folks. Get ready. Now we have more water contamination found in Michigan. Pure Michigan, they call it. Well, the water doesn't seem to be poor in Michigan. Headline, fish advisories issued for Michigan lakes, river impacted by PFAS contamination. The state government this week issued new fish consumption advisories for lakes and rivers in 3 counties after tests confirmed the presence of toxic chemicals. Fish in 3 lakes and a section of the Sabi River were tested as part of state response to revelations about per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, also called PFAS or PFCs, according to Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The tests, the test found elevated levels of one of those chemicals, PFOS, as well as mercury in multiple fish species collected from Fresca Lake and Versius Lake in Kent County, Lake Magritte in Crawford County, and a section of the Sable River between Grayling and Mio. Those discoveries prompted the department to issue new, quote, eat safe fish guidelines for fish caught in the 4 waterways announced by the state. The PFAS chemicals found at elevated levels at a few dozen sites across the state have been linked in human studies to certain cancers, thyroid disorders, elevated cholesterol, and other diseases. In 2012, the state issued a do not eat advisory for all fish caught in Clark's Marsh and the lower Sable River downstream on the former Wirt Smith Air Force Base, where high levels of PFAS chemicals were found in groundwater. The chemicals have been found there and at other military bases as a reminder of their presence in firefighting foam used there. Neighbors of an industrial dump site near Belmont recently discovered they were drinking well water with PFAS levels well above the federal benchmark, at which chronic exposure is considered unsafe. So I could keep going on, but basically PFAS chemicals are what they have found across the country. They are found when companies, particularly DuPont, have been dumping cancer-causing chemicals used in the production of things like Teflon and other cooking software. Cooking product. They've been dumped in North Carolina, they've been dumped in Ohio, and they've been dumped in West Virginia. And DuPont had to settle for I believe it was $681 million lawsuit settlement last year because people died in West Virginia and the Ohio River Valley. Right now, North Carolina has lawsuits against DuPont's subsidiary, Chemours, because they were dumping this PFAS chemicals, which cause cancer, autoimmune issues, issues and stillbirths. And now they're finding it in this area across Michigan, it says. Not to mention, we still know the water in Flint is poisoned, which I've reported about. And press the share button, let's get this purple screen out there. I mean, you could only laugh about it, right? Like, there's nothing I could do. You know, my Wi-Fi is fine. Something's going on with YouTube. Something is going on, folks. But these chemicals are very dangerous, and because we live in the United Corporations of America, and there is really zero regulation on corporations, and even before Trump, the Environmental Protection Agency was not strongly enforcing regulations. No, I wasn't joking about the purple screen. It's serious. Maybe we'll start calling it the Purple Podcast. But you know what? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So this is going on in Michigan. Meanwhile, the Flint crisis is still a crisis, yet the government keeps telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. As I recently reported, they found elevated lead levels of lead in Flint public schools. And I'm working on a piece that currently One Magazine is looking at about the fraudulent science being used to declare Flint water, quote, normal compared to other cities. But it's not just the fish that should be concerning. And again, this is fish in 3 lakes in a section of the Sable River were tested in Michigan. That would be species collected from Fresca Lake and Verse-Lewis Lake in Kent County, Lake Magrath in Crawford County, and a section of the Au Sable River between Grayling and Mio. This is also happening. We've seen contamination near Army bases in Ohio. We've also seen, I just tweeted about it today. Let me find that tweet for you. Hold the phone. Water contamination. Army base. Yeah, North Carolina Army base now has water contamination close. In the Atlantic community in Carteret County, they have groundwater contamination near a North Carolina military base. So this is happening everywhere. Meanwhile, CNN's headline right now is Russia a friend or foe of the United States? So don't worry about your water, folks. Let's just keep the McCarthyism going. Let's keep the censorship going on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Let's make sure that people can't get their news about water contamination, about other environmental genocide, about corruption on the state and local level. We don't want any of that. So I'll post a link in the description box, but if you're in that area, and by the way, when I report on water contamination, it might not be happening yet that you know of where you live, but it's an epidemic happening across the country. So it's important you look into your water. There's resources online. Go to your city council, find out what industries are near where you live, find out what's been dumped in not only water bodies, but at nuclear waste sites near you. Because all of that contaminates groundwater that you drink from and your kids are drinking from. So, what else do we have here? We have more teachers striking, which is fantastic. After the successful West Virginia teacher strike, 4,000 members of Jersey City's, New Jersey's teachers union are striking for the first time in 20 years, since 1998. So some of you were asking, do you think West Virginia's teacher strike is a sign of things to come? I do. I do. Because I think what really needs to happen, I think the corporations, the politicians have done a very, very good job of scaring public sector workers like teachers. They have done a very good job, especially the politicians, of saying, well, if you strike, we'll just find somebody else, and making them scared for their livelihoods. I agree. Stop it, Google. You have no right to hide the truth from us. Well, the teachers are calling their bluff, which they did in West Virginia, which led to a 5% raise, as well as a stop to drastic healthcare cuts. So let me read you what's going on in Jersey. Jersey City's public school teachers walked off the job for the first time in 20 years today, leading to confusion and some chaos across the 29,000 student district as teachers led boisterous protests outside city schools. Students all over Jersey City skipped class to join their teachers on the picket line. A loudspeaker outside School 20 blasted Aretha Franklin's Respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Teachers at McNair Academic High School yelling scab tried to block substitute teachers from entering the school. Well, that's something. The work stoppage comes after months of failed negotiations between the Jersey City Educational Association, the 4,000-member union representing the teachers and the other school employees, and the Jersey City Board of Education. A late-night effort to come to a deal failed at last night's school board meeting. Teachers here have worked under an expired contract since September 1st and are demanding lower healthcare costs. They say Chapter 78, New Jersey's 2011 law that revamped how public employees pay for their health benefits, has sharply curtailed their take-home pay. Quote, I've been in the system for 20 years and I'm finally making a decent salary, and now I'm paying $1,400 a month for premiums. A 53-year-old physical education teacher at McNair told the Jersey Journal this morning. A win for teachers in this dispute could have statewide implications, as unions across New Jersey cite New Jersey in their efforts to achieve lower health care costs. Quote, Quality, affordable healthcare is a fundamental right for everyone, JCEA President Ron Greco said in a statement announcing the strike. My members are prepared to step up and take on this fight for everyone, knowing full well that it might be a long, difficult process. Share this video even though it's purple. Let's get it out to more people. And a reminder, patreon.com/JordanCharitonReports and sign up for steemit.com. That's steemit.com. And then follow me, steemit.com/@JordanChariton. The district spent $98.9 million in 2017 to 18 on health benefits. $98.9 million on health benefits last year. The employee share of that was $19.9 million. So basically almost $100 million, $20 million. So almost a quarter of the healthcare costs paid by teachers who already aren't making that much. The district's total budget is $682 million. Teachers are joined on the picket line today by school nurses, paraprofessionals, secretaries, child study teams, guidance counselors, and non-certified administrators. Security guards are not striking. The 9-member school board has met 3 times this week in an effort to come to a deal, most recently on Thursday when it convened until 12:30 a.m. Friday. Quote, we are no doubt disappointed with the JCE leadership's reckless and irresponsible decision to strike work, Board of Education President Susan Thomas said in an email. The JCEA leadership's action will cause immense hardship to the 30,000 students we serve, the parents, the citizens of Jersey City, and create additional pressure on the district while we are combating a $70 million shortfall for our budget. Oh, so, this is what they always do. They try to knock the teachers striking because you're hurting the kids. But you know what's hurting the kids? Inhumanely paying their teachers. Trying to make it where their teachers have to go basically work another job other than school just to pay for their healthcare costs. As I've said many times, I think good teachers should be paid some of the highest salaries in the United States. And they are paid some of the highest salaries in other countries. Ooh, that's a good point. I don't need to shave in the purple screen. So this demonization of teachers because they're hurting the students and causing hardships. You know what's hurting the students? Having overworked, underpaid, and stretched way too thin teachers. And you know what? You know why you have a $70 million shortfall? It's not because of the striking teachers. It's because of your old governor, Chris Christie, and Republican governors like him who decided to cut the school budget and funds for education in order to give tax cuts to his donors and rich people and corporations. Maybe that's why, one of the reasons Chris Christie left office as one of the most unpopular governors in American history. But because the corporate media supports failure, Chris Christie now has a nice paying gig as an ABC contributor. So it doesn't matter how low your polls are as a politician, how bad you are as a governor, you get a job at ABC as a commentator. John Bolton, doesn't matter how bad you are in life, you might become national security advisor. I saw Jennifer Palmieri, Hillary Clinton's communications director, on CNN this morning. I mean, it never ends. Meanwhile, the people who actually tell the truth and cover things that need to be covered get a purple screen on YouTube. How's that? But it's all right. I'm still having fun. I'm still going to report the truth. I don't care if it's a purple screen, a black screen. They could take my screen, but they can't take my mouth. Tell me what you guys think. In robocalls to parents sent last night and this morning, the district laid out the half-day schedule and said the Morning Stars, Casper, and after-school programs have been canceled, but the breakfast and lunch will be served. The district is also maintaining a strike page on its website. You know what? I say to the teachers, keep striking. Don't listen to this demonization of what you're doing because you deserve to be paid like human beings. You deserve to be paid for good work. Now, I don't believe in across the board same salaries for every teacher. I do think there should be some standards so that if we have bad teachers, they don't get a job for life. However, I don't believe in teachers having to pay $1,400 a month for their health care. That is insane. That's insane. I certainly don't think CEOs at banks are paying $1,400 a month for their health care. I certainly don't think CEOs at Big Pharma are paying $14 a month for their health care. I certainly don't think CEOs at Big Oil are paying $1,400 a month for their health care. Yes, think of this as a radio show or a podcast. Purple Haze. Or Purple Days. So basically, we are paying more money. Teachers are paying more money. They're being squeezed like lemons so that corporations and rich people could get another yacht. That's the bottom line. It's not more complicated than that, folks. The teachers are paying the price through higher healthcare costs, lower wages than they already had. The manufacturing workers of America have been paying the price for a while because it is a corporate con job and it is a heist of your money flowing up to those who just need one more yacht. And I think you're going to see more of this. I think you're going to see more teacher strikes. I think you're going to see a revitalization of this country's unions. Connor Lamb, who I don't love on all issues, but he just won in Pennsylvania. He ran on strong unions. And going from one state treating public sector workers awfully to another one, guess what Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. This ball of sunshine here. Let me tell you what he said about teachers. Let me get it up here. Bevin, selfish teachers. So Matt Bevin, Kentucky governor, he said he thinks it's appalling how selfish Kentucky teachers are. So, give you the quote. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin slammed teachers for being, quote, selfish and short-sighted for protesting policies in the pension reform bill. Quote, if they get what they wish, for they will not have a pension system for the younger people who are still working. And that to me is remarkably selfish and short-sighted, Bevin said on a Campbellsville radio program. Bevin's comments come as hope for the governor's pension plans dwindle. Senate President Robert Stivers told Courier-Journal that he didn't see a lot of hope for the bill. Just this week, hundreds of teachers and educators flocked to Frankfurt to protest the pension reform bill, particularly an unpopular provision, a reduction of the annual cost of living increase in benefits of retired teachers from 1.5% to 1.0%. Quote, it's about just straight up wanting more than your fair share, Bevin said. This is a group of people just throwing a temper tantrum, he said about the teachers. Brent McKim, the president of the Jefferson County's Teachers Association, said in a statement that he was, quote, shocked by Bevin's comments. The version of the bill sent to committee on Friday would make many changes intended to put Kentucky on a course of paying off retirement system liabilities of more than $43 billion. Bevin said that legislators needed to save people from their own, quote, misinformed opinions, and said they need to pass the pension bill, quote, whether the people want it or not. Yes, Carl, this is the fourth time. Coincidentally, it keeps happening even though I have a strong Wi-Fi connection at my apartment, even though I bought a new phone. There's only one thing that seems to be constant. It's happening on YouTube, along with the views on my channel going down drastically for no apparent reason. People getting no notifications, even if that my videos are up or I'm live, even though they signed up for notifications. People being unsubscribed, even though they didn't subscribe. Very interesting, wouldn't you say? And eventually, we might all need to bandy together against YouTube. Yeah, I'm gonna try on my computer next time. Thanks for the suggestion. So what's really funny, you know, when you hear these pension reforms, it's not pension reform. It's just trying to screw teachers. It's all about screwing the teachers. Christie did this in Jersey. Other Republican governors are doing it. But what's really amazing is when Matt Bevin talks about selfishness. Well, it's always interesting what these people find selfish when they are spending the money or giving away tax cuts to their donors, rich plutocrats, and corporations. Is that not selfish? Is that not selfish? So the teachers wanting better benefits, not wanting to have to pay more for their retirement that they've been paying into for how many years, they're considered selfish for basically not bending over, lying like dead dogs, while you take more of their money and then give that money to your donors, to rich people who don't need it, and corporations. And I love when he says, this needs to pass whether the people like it or not. No, 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 no. So let me get this straight. We're very worried about Russia attacking our quote-unquote democracy. But we're not worried about a governor in a United States state basically saying, screw the people and what they want, the people who elected us and we represent. Let's pass things whether they like it or not. I mean, at least he's being open about authoritarianism and being a dictator. At least he's being open about not giving a crap. And I've been to Kentucky. It's definitely a Republican state, but there are progressive pockets. But basically, this guy's talking like a dictator. Let's see. Who does Matt Bevin take money from? Take a guess. You know, it's never much of a secret. These bastions of humanity. We got top industries, lawyers and lobbyists, mining, healthcare, real estate, banking. I mean, you can't make it up. Finance, insurance and real estate, energy and natural resources, aka big oil, health, aka big pharma. So he's not selfish. He's not selfish for basically being legally bribed by Wall Street, big oil, big pharma, and in return giving giant tax cuts to those same plutocrats and corporations. It's the teachers that are selfish. You know, folks, I think we all got to say, I'm mad as hell and I ain't going to take it anymore. Because I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking it anymore. I'm not taking the purple screen anymore. I'm not taking any of it anymore. That's why I've launched my Patreon. That's why we're working to launch a new media company. That's why I've launched my website. And that's why I hope you guys will check them all out. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. My first podcast is up. Go check it out. I hope you're able to subscribe and support me. And thank you, Amanda, just pledged $3. Appreciate it. Now, Bevin's plan also calls. He says, I'm gonna throw 500,000 people off Medicaid if I don't get my pension plan in there. So not only does he not care what the Kentucky people said, he says, doesn't, you know, whether they like it or not, he wants to toss hundreds of thousands of people off Medicaid if his quote-unquote pension reform bill doesn't get passed. Governor Matt Bevin's new healthcare program is a god-awful acronym that really doesn't even begin to tell you what it is. Between 100,000 and 500,000 Kentuckians will lose their health insurance in the next year because of Bevin's new Medicaid program, which requires recipients to pay for Medicaid and for some of them to get jobs or work as volunteers. That will mean suffering and that will mean death. If the program is instituted as Kentucky's heartless governor wants, it's estimated that 100,000 people will lose coverage under the plan. If any portion of the plan is found to violate the law and is struck down by a judge, Bevin has issued an executive order to wipe out Kentucky's Medicaid expansion enacted under his predecessor, Governor Steve Beshear. That would mean no health care coverage for nearly 500,000 of your neighbors. These are the people we have in office. We have a guy saying it doesn't matter what the people want. Pass my pension reform. I know, 93 people watching. That is nothing. Partly because half the people aren't even aware that I'm live right now because they're not getting notifications. Normally, I've been getting 200 watching live, but I digress. So this is the Republican governor of Kentucky. Of course, Democratic governors all over the country are doing bad things too. I call them out just as much. But let's make no mistake. This is the oligarchy. This is the oligarchy that the corporate media covers up for. This is the oligarchy that the local corporate media, because as bad as CNN and MSNBC is, I got news for you. Every single state I've gone into, the local media in these places might as well be asleep at the switch. And they are corrupt. And they get their checks signed by the same multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that tell them, do not cover this, do not challenge the politicians, write a few sentences, move on to, if it bleeds, it leads. Who's getting killed? And, fluffy penguins spotted. It's disgusting. But I'm very optimistic. The fact that we are seeing teachers striking, the fact that we are seeing labor unions strengthening, the fact that we are seeing an explosion of progressive candidates with primaries starting soon. The fact that we're seeing all these things is super well. And I'm also very, very happy that after 25 minutes of a purple screen, I still have 104 people with me. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. I kind of think it's important to report on water contamination. I kind of think it's important to report on teachers striking and the momentum behind that. I think it's important to report on a potential, I don't even know what you would call John Bolton other than an authoritarian warmonger. It's awful. Jordan, university teachers in UK are striking for their pensions. It's happening everywhere. The oligarchy has been getting away with murder across the pond, in the UK, in the United States, and frankly, we're all fighting back now. Now let me make it clear. I don't want anyone fighting violently or physically, but it is time to fight back with your words, with your creativity, with your leverage, which is striking, and with your wallet, supporting the independent media that is fighting for the right things and exposing the right things. Because make no mistake about it, this is short term. Yeah, I will come from my apartment from time to time, but I will be out there again. Just as soon as I have the investor money, as soon as I have enough money on Patreon to get out there. Unfortunately, it costs a lot of money, folks. It costs a lot of money to get out there with cameraman, equipment, flights, hotels. But when I'm out there, I'll be staying for a while. Because let me tell you, there's too much to cover, there's too much to expose, and there are too many powerful people to take down. And I plan on doing that. Water contamination, police brutality, environmental genocide, corruption, federal, state, local. Political candidates getting no coverage. Food contamination. Thank you for watching. Again, hope you'll consider checking out my Patreon. That's patreon.com/JordanCharitonReports. Let me know what you think of my first podcast. The video diaries that are up, I hope you'll consider subscribing. I'm not asking for my health. I'm asking so we could launch a media revolution. I also hope you'll check out my website. That's JordanChariton.com. Not in its final stages yet, but definitely sign up for my email list. So we could get news to you first. We want to grow that so we don't depend on YouTube. We don't depend on Facebook. We don't depend on Twitter. Last thing I'll say, I'm really going to be pushing steemit.com because I'm going to be going on Steemit a lot more. That's steemit.com, STEEMIT.com. When you sign up, you'll get approved, I think, in a couple days to a week. Then you'll follow me at steemit.com/@JordanChariton. Thank you for watching me and my purple screen. Peace.